The Palestinians failed just about every measure normally applied for national recognition, so it definitely is a bit of a change for the UK, and it's not yet clear if this is really a government policy change or if it's just something that Lord Cameron has said. But what he is suggesting is the recognition of a state that stands pretty much against everything Britain stands for. Only 116 days after one of the most deadly attacks for British citizens in recent years, which emanated from that aspiring state. And what's more, there are still British hostages in Gaza held by the governing body there, Hamas, which Britain classifies as a terrorist organisation. Yet he says that for the last 30 years, it's been Israel that's been a failure. Now, Britain's against terrorism, it's pro-democracy, it's pro-peace, but Lord Cameron is suggesting that recognition of statehood is precisely a response to that would-be state carrying out the most vicious and egregious assault on a British ally, Israel. Now, in normal circumstances, there are, of course, certain things that countries look for when considering would-be states for recognition. Those tend to relate to the viability of the prospective state in practical terms. For example, its permanent population, it's existing in a defined territory over which there's an effective government operating independently from external control. But of course, the Palestinians don't have any of that. They've got no agreed borders, with sizable parts of their population, leadership and government actively planning to eradicate Israel totally, and no defined population. So again, strange for Britain to be taking this position. And that's because the UN's perpetuated that idea that generations of people who are already settled in other countries are also Palestinian refugees. And the Palestinian authorities decided that those refugees have a right of return. So even the population issue isn't particularly settled in terms of a potential Palestinian state. It's ever increasing. And let's also not forget that Iran calls the shots over Hamas and the Gaza Strip, which means that Gaza and its government certainly are not independent or free to do as they wish. And even the supposedly moderate PA is corrupt and has a president who's 19 years into what was meant to be a 4-year term. He actually celebrated that anniversary a few days ago. So there are really no signs of elections to come there. And Hamas will probably win those anyway, as we know. So the UK, of course, would be creating a state which is most likely to have a government run by something it classes as a terrorist organisation. So really, it's quite confusing that Lord Cameron is advocating the recognition of a state which would almost certainly be a terror state, committed to eradication of a British ally, controlled by Iran, which the UK is currently fighting through its proxy in Yemen, in the Red Sea, at a time when the US balances on the edge of war with Iran directly. It's such an utterly confusing position.